Thank you for joining me here this afternoon. The time is currently 12:17 p.m. Central, 1:17 p.m. Eastern, and you have a live look at a severe thunderstorm in Cleveland, Ohio. Now, right now, this is a severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Ohio here. This is for northwestern Medina and central Lorain counties. All right, this is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing 60-mile-per-hour damaging wind gusts and quarter-sized hail. This does not include downtown Cleveland. However, it does include areas to the southwest of Cleveland, areas like Elria, however you pronounce that. We got Grafton, LaGrange, Wellington, Litchfield, Valley City, all these little Cleveland suburbs out here included in this severe thunderstorm warning. Now, this is the only severe thunderstorm warning we have right now, but today we are expecting a widespread severe weather outbreak to take place across portions of the Great Plains once again. We've got ourselves a pretty significant tornado risk, alright? We got ourselves a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of any given point for portions of southwest Kansas and the Oklahoma Panhandle down in Roman's neck of the woods, Roman the weather guy. And then we've also got ourselves a 5% risk up here for portions of eastern Minnesota and extreme northwestern Wisconsin here. So that's another thing that we're going to have to look out for. Now, I would not be shocked at all, okay, if we were to see these two 5% risks actually kind of get put together here. I don't think it's going to happen, but it is a possibility to look out for, because I do believe in between those two areas as well, we're actually going to have a decent shot to see tornadoes. So Minneapolis, all right, Dodge City, we've got, Duluth, Ely. Those are some of the bigger cities that have a greater tornado risk for today. You might also notice we have a 2% risk right here down on the southeast Texas coast, and that is because Tropical Storm Alberto is coming in, and we're going to start to see the impacts of it kind of start to roll in today, all right? We have a marginal risk of severe weather for the southeast Texas coast here for areas like Corpus Christi, all right, all the way down to the Texas-Mexico border there, and all the way up towards portions of kind of southeast Texas like Port Lavaca. So since yesterday, all right, some major changes to the forecast have been added here for Tropical Storm Alberto. If we go ahead and turn on the cone, and then we'll also turn on the projected track, we can see that right now it is still just chilling out here in the Bay of Campeche area, but as this continues, it's going to head westward here, and again, it's expected to make a landfall as a high-end tropical storm here in portions of northeastern Mexico, near Ciudad Victoria. All right, we're talking about areas like La Pesca, Abasolo, areas like that. All right, and again, at its peak, it's going to have about 65-mile-per-hour wind gusts here at landfall whenever it makes landfall here in portions of northeastern Mexico, but some of the lingering effects are going to be able to be felt all the way up here from portions of southeastern Texas once again. All right, if we take a look at the wind field, we can see that right now even it has a tropical storm force wind field here that is very large, right? It goes and it includes a decent chunk of the Gulf there, right? So as this continues to head westward, we're going to see that cone there, or sorry, that area of tropical storm force winds clip portions of southeastern Texas here, like Corpus Christi. Okay, oh my goodness. I don't know why, but I am struggling today, guys. Sorry. But anyway, as you can see, we do have tropical storm warnings in effect now for portions of southeast Texas. Yesterday, we only had tropical storm watches. Now, there's a very good likelihood that we see some impacts here on the southeast Texas coast from Tropical Storm Alberto. And some of the threats have increased for what we could see in southeast Texas. Now, again, most of the worst of it is actually going to stay in northeastern Mexico. But southeast Texas, yesterday, whenever we talked to you, we were saying wind wasn't really going to be a big threat, and we weren't going to see any sort of, damage out of the winds. But that's kind of changed a little bit, all right? We are expecting to see some gusts get over 45 miles per hour here in far southeastern portions of Texas here in the far southeasternmost counties. And 45-mile-per-hour winds is enough to the point where we could see, some loose objects get blown around for sure. We could definitely see a few branches get knocked off of some trees or something. But wind is still not the main threat here for southeastern Texas, right? As you can see, the potential impacts are still limited. However, damage to porches, awnings, carports, sheds, and unanchored mobile homes or possible, okay? So the storm surge forecast, all right now we are expecting about 1 to 3 feet of storm surge for most of the southeastern Texas coast here, which is enough to cause some impacts, all right? They're not going to be anything significant by any means, but again, the worst of it's actually going to remain a little further south here into portions of Mexico. But for Texas, again, the potential impacts are limited, but they are there, all right? You got to be careful and obviously avoid the coast, right? Stay, try to stay a little bit further inland there, all right? Because we are going to see some pretty significant storm surge out of this tropical system here. Now, the flooding rain is actually going to be a pretty big problem here, all right? We are expecting some spots to see 4 to 8 inches of fresh water rainfall, which is enough to create life-threatening flash flooding. So we're going to have to seriously look out for that, as the flooding rains could actually be the biggest threat with this tropical storm here, all right? Okay. Alright, anyway, I'm just not even going to try to be fancy anymore. I've already screwed up so many times this afternoon. But we have a moderate risk of excessive rainfall today for this system here. Some of the outer bands are definitely going to produce some heavy rainfall. And then we also have a moderate risk of flash flooding tomorrow that goes further inland out towards San Antonio there, okay? So a moderate risk is a 3 out of 4 on the flash flooding scale. Now, if this gets upgraded, it'll go to a high risk. Now, will that happen? I don't think it personally will. Normally, high risks are reserved for the most catastrophic flash floods of the year, all right? And I don't think this is going to be one of those. I do think that flash flooding is going to be a problem, but I don't think it's going to be anything, like, super-duper extreme, right? Now, actually, if we go a little bit further north here, we can see that some spots are actually expected to get even a little bit more than 4 to 8 inches of rainfall. We can see some spots up closer to Corpus Christi could get up to 6 to 10 inches of rainfall, according to the tropical storm warning here, which, if that happens, again, that will be some pretty dangerous flash flooding. But again, right along the border is where we're reading all this description from, right? So the potential impacts with this rain, they're significant, all right? We may see some evacuations and stuff. Now, the tornado forecast, all right? Again, as of yesterday, all right, we were not talking about a tornado threat with Tropical Storm Alberto. That's changed a little bit, all right? The situation is somewhat favorable for tornadoes, all right? So, emergency plans should include the potential for a few tornadoes. Prepare. If your shelter is particularly vulnerable to tornadoes, prepare to relocate to safe shelter before hazardous weather arrives. If a tornado warning is issued, be ready to shelter quickly, alright? It's not going to be anything crazy in terms of the tornadoes. That's definitely not the main threat. But again, we do already have a 2% risk for tornadoes down there for our marginal risk today along the southeast Texas coastline here. So again, that's what's driving our marginal risk. Again, a 2% chance to see a tornado within 25 miles of any given point. That does include Corpus Christi. That also includes other portions here of the southeast Texas coastline. All right, we've got, again, our bigger tornado threat for today is going to lie up here with our severe weather outbreak. But again, Tropical Storm Alberto definitely has the potential to bring tornadoes as early as today to parts of southeast Texas. And if we go into tomorrow, we can see they have another marginal risk already for parts of South Texas for this system. And this marginal risk goes a little bit further inland. Again, this is tornado-driven, all right? This includes Corpus Christi, Kingsville, out towards Falfurrias, and then it does not include Hebronville, but it does include areas to the southeast of Hebronville. It includes McAllen there, all right, areas along the United States-Mexico border. So we'll have to look out again for a potential for a couple of tornadoes over the next few days out of Tropical Storm Alberto. But for the most part, again, though, I really think most of the tornadoes that we are going to get are going to stay down here in New Mexico, so we'll have to watch out for that. But I do think that the United States is not going to have a great tornado threat. But again, if we do get a tornado, it's going to be because of some of the outer bands, which we are already seeing starting to slam into southeastern Texas here. Some of these outer bands, sometimes whenever we have tropical storms and hurricanes, can intensify enough to the point where they kind of act as supercells. And as we all know, intense supercells can and sometimes do produce tornadoes. So we'll have to watch this because, again, some of the outer bands here are already making it into portions of extreme southern Texas, extreme southeastern Texas here, and that is why we have our 2% tornado risk in effect for today. I do think that the greater tornado threat is going to come this evening with this particular system. But yeah, that is the forecast there for Tropical Storm Alberto. I know we spent a good chunk of this stream actually talking about that. But we are going to continue to focus on the ongoing severe weather. But if anybody has any questions about that, obviously leave those down below, as this is looking to be a little bit more of a concerning system than we were originally thinking as of yesterday, right? So the forecast has changed a little bit. But for now, we're just going to chill up here with our Cleveland, Ohio storm. Again, this is a severe thunderstorm warning for portions of the Cleveland suburbs. Sorry about that. But southwest of Cleveland is mainly where we're concerned about right now. Alright, hello everybody. Good to see you all tuning in. We already have 9 viewers. We've only been live for 9 minutes. Alright. So, again, we do have this severe thunderstorm currently impacting portions of northeastern Ohio here. We also do have a few special weather statements out here in the Ohio Valley for some stronger storms that we have to watch, going all the way from Pennsylvania back into Ohio here, so we'll have to look out for some of those, but I'm not thinking that too many of those are going to become severe. But again, some gusty winds and small hail could definitely be some potential threats with those. We even have a special weather statement all the way up here into Minnesota for this little band of storms here near Grand Rapids, moving southeastward, that is producing some 40-mile-per-hour gusty winds and some pea-sized hail there, it looks like. So we'll have to look out for that. But yeah. I'm going to go ahead and give my voice a little bit of a rest. So again, if anybody has any questions about their location, please leave those down below there now. And I'll try to answer them accurately and honestly, but while we're in a little bit of a calmer period of weather, this stream will probably be more relaxed here. Alright, our storm has been downgraded to penny-sized hail now, our one in Cleveland, so the only severe threat is for the 60-mile-per-hour damaging wind gusts. You're worried for the amount of rain that Houston is going to get? Yeah, that is going to be a legitimate concern for the Houston area, but the good news is the freshwater rainfall is really the only thing you have to worry about out of this system. I'm not expecting any tornadoes in Houston. I'm not expecting any gusty winds or damaging winds in Houston. I'm not expecting any storm surge in Houston. I think really the only thing you're going to have to be concerned about there is the freshwater flooding, which can be a real threat. So, know where you're going to go if you do have to evacuate. But, yeah. Again, the only situation I see where evacuations are going to be made necessary out of this system is because of the flooding. It's not going to be because the winds are too high or because, we got too much storm surge or there's tornadoes. If we get any evacuations, it's going to be due to the freshwater rainfall, for sure. But yeah, this kind of reminds me, we did have a tropical storm go through this area last year. I'm not sure, I don't really remember which one that was. Yeah, you're probably going to get most of the rain tomorrow there in Houston, but you already do have, again, some of these showers and thunderstorms from Tropical Storm Alberto already there in portions of Houston. And again, these aren't going to be anything crazy, but they are going to dump some moderate to heavy rainfall in some very localized spots. It was Tropical Storm Dawn, wasn't it? I think it was Dawn that made landfall in this area last year. Now, this one's going to be a little bit further south than Dawn was. Last time Texas got hit by a hurricane was 2021 with Hurricane Nicholas. Yeah, in the recent history, Nicholas, Harvey, those were some of the more intense hurricanes to make landfall here in South Texas. And again, we're not going to be talking about anything like those systems. Those were far beyond what we're going to be seeing here. But again, I do think that down in portions of northeast Mexico, we could see some significant impacts. Again, we are expecting the max wind gusts with this system at landfall to be about 65 miles per hour. Now, that doesn't sound like anything crazy, but you got to remember, yesterday, we were not even talking about wind gusts that high. So, if the forecast continues to intensify here, we legitimately could have a borderline Category 1 hurricane on our hands by the time this makes landfall. Now, I don't think we're going to get that, but it is a very real possibility that we'll have to look out for. I think it's going to make landfall as a high-end tropical storm, but... yeah, I mean, Nicholas was Category 1, but the thing with Nicholas was, again, it actually made landfall in Texas, right? It didn't make landfall in Mexico. So the impacts are not going to be quite as bad for Texas as a lot of the hurricanes and tropical storms in recent history. Yeah, I mean, even if it does turn into a hurricane, again, it's not going to be anything crazy. It's going to be a low-end Category 1, and again, I'm expecting at this point it just remains a tropical storm. That's what a lot of the models are saying, is that this gets to moderate to high-end tropical storm strength, makes landfall here in northeastern Mexico, and again, the National Hurricane Center is agreeing with that with their cone here in their track. So I'll have to look out for this. Again, this is going to be the first tropical storm of the season. We are expecting Tropical Storm Alberto out of this. It's technically not there yet. It's technically still only Tropical Storm 1. It's a little confusing how all this terminology works, of why it's 1 instead of Alberto, and I'm not even fully understanding it, but... it's almost a guarantee at this point that this will turn into Tropical Storm Alberto. I'll give it about a 95% chance. And, again, I'd give it about a 95% chance as well that it makes landfall there in northeast Mexico. Worst case scenario is Category 1 hurricane. Yeah, and I mean, that's only if this undergoes rapid intensification for a little bit. By the way, we just got a very serious mesoscale discussion here. This is, actually very serious. I'm going to bring this up on your guys' screen. We just got a mesoscale discussion for parts of Minnesota here. There's an 80% chance of a tornado watch being issued for this area between now and 2:15 p.m. There's an increasing threat for surface-based severe storms this afternoon, and some of those are definitely going to have the potential to plant tornadoes down here in Minnesota, okay? So, again... this goes all the way from Ely back down towards Worthington. If this does get issued, again, there's an 80% chance of a tornado watch getting issued there between now and 2:15 p.m. Central. So the severe weather outbreak is about to get underway here in Minnesota. Am I streaming most of the day tomorrow for Alberto? Yes, tomorrow and Thursday I will be streaming multiple hours for sure, at least for Tropical Storm Alberto coverage, as it's expected to make landfall. As of right now, it's expected to make landfall late tomorrow night into early Thursday morning. As you can see, Wednesday, 7 p.m., this is where it's going to be, just off to the east here of portions of off the northeast Mexico coastline. So, yeah, that's that. But yeah, I mean, we gotta watch all these little outer bands and little showers and thunderstorms that are getting pushed up into southeast Texas already from Tropical Storm Alberto, as maybe one or two of them tries to go tornadic for a second. We did just get a new severe thunderstorm warning for our storm here in Minnesota. It is now severe, producing 60-mile-per-hour damaging wind gusts and half-dollar-sized hail, which is actually pretty significant. So again, if you're in Chisholm, Hibbing, you guys should be moving indoors and away from windows immediately. So let's go back over here to our Ohio storm. Again, we're mainly only concerned about areas to the southwest of Cleveland now. Again, if you're in downtown Cleveland, you're not the main area of concern, but we are concerned about areas like Elyria, Wellington. Actually, Wellington, this is all past you now, but Grafton, Eaton, North Eaton, Brentwood Lake, that whole area there, if you guys are familiar with the Cleveland area. You have allergies? Yeah, I know. I mean, it does kind of have something to do with the weather, actually. All this excessive heat is definitely taking a toll on a lot of people. What's up, Goose Man? We'd like to point out, late last night, we had a very significant severe weather outbreak up here. As you can see, a 81-mile-per-hour gust was recorded out of South Dakota at 1:37 a.m. last night. Now, obviously, I was not live for this, but this was definitely pretty significant. We have widespread wind damage reported out of this area, so the unfortunate thing is we're going to see more of this today. So we're going to see areas that have already received some damage potentially end up getting some more damage here as we go later into this afternoon and this evening. What do you think our first major hurricane is going to be? When? Ooh, that's a tricky one. I'm going to go with a bold answer, and I'm going to say August. Because, honestly, this hurricane season, while I do think it is going to be above average, it's getting a late start. So I highly doubt that we're going to see any majors until at least August or maybe even September. Because obviously that's peak hurricane season. But I think once we start seeing those, they are going to be very significant, and we're going to see a lot of majors, potentially. Obviously, I know there's a lot of concern over Hurricane Isaac. Now, you may be thinking, why is there concern? It's not even developed yet. We don't even know where it's going to be, what it's going to be. But the thing is, the past 3 years, So, in 2021, Hurricane Ida devastated portions of the Gulf of Mexico here, alright, and then even decided to head northeastward and drop some big-time tornadoes up here in New Jersey, even one prompting a tornado emergency. And then in 2022, obviously, we had Hurricane Ian, which was one of the strongest hurricanes to make landfall in Florida over the past few decades here, alright, in the the Big Bend, kind of in between the Big Bend and the Keys here in that region. And then last year we had Hurricane Idalia, which was the strongest hurricane to make landfall in the Big Bend of Florida. I think the only hurricane to make landfall there in I don't know if this is true, but I feel like I read somewhere that it was over a century, but that sounds a little ridiculous. So but it was definitely the first one for a long time. Maybe it's the first major hurricane to do that in over a century, and I'd believe that. So all the I names are obviously, they've all been ridiculous in the past few years, so everybody is concerned about Hurricane Isaac. It just happens to be whenever, I just lost my train of thought. Whenever a hurricane with the I name pops up, we just happen usually to be in peak hurricane season. That's usually whenever we get to the I in the list, usually in August or September. So everybody's always really concerned about that. And again, I think this year Hurricane Isaac will probably be in September, given the late start to the season here. I mean, we're, in late June already, and I mean, technically we don't even have Alberto yet, but I think within the next few hours here at the next National Hurricane Center update, I think it'll probably be officially Tropical Storm Alberto. By the way, look at this. This little sneaky hook echo is trying to develop. You remember whenever that tropical storm hit California last year? That was insane. Tropical Storm Hillary. Because it was a major hurricane before it landfall. And at landfall, everybody said it was an underwhelming event, but it's not like we were expecting anything crazy. But for California, that was insane. I mean, we had 36 flash flood warnings at the same time. We were getting tornado warnings. We had significant problems out of that area. I remember doing videos forecasting Tropical Storm Hillary. That was so much fun. But yeah, our storm here in Ohio looks like it's even rotating a little bit in between LaGrange and Belden. So we'll have to watch this. This may honestly try and produce a funnel cloud or something here. And we definitely got a higher pocket of winds out of this system as well. Ripping through areas like Eaton and heading up towards North Olmsted. And, well, I'd assume there'd be a place called Olmsted. But there's Olmsted Falls, I guess that area as well, Strongsville. And we do have a flash flood warning now for Youngstown, Ohio, because the rainfall rate out here is 1 to 3 inches every 2 hours. That's insane. What's up, Sam? But yeah, we have a flash flood warning now for Youngstown, so if you're in that area, stay alive, don't drive. We were getting significant rainfall up there out of that little storm there that was special weather Stephen warned, and it still is, actually. As it is producing some 50-mile-per-hour winds and pea-sized hail. And the problem with this is it's not moving. It's not like it's going to be, one big burst of extremely heavy rainfall. The rainfall is moderate to heavy in some spots, but the problem is it's not moving at all. And I do think that the National Weather Service in Philadelphia will issue a flash flood warning on this side. The National Weather Service in Pittsburgh will issue a flash flood warning for the Pennsylvania side of the state line. What's up, Mr. Storm? Because, yeah, these are two different National Weather Service zones here. Will this yet again be another conditional tornado risk? Just asking because the SPC doesn't mention about it. I'd say this one's a little bit more set in stone. It's going to be, as we like to call it here, a higher floor, lower ceiling event, right? Now, conditional risks usually end up being high ceiling, lower floor, alright? So you see the difference here. There's almost a guarantee that we're going to see at least some tornadic supercells develop today. But none of them are probably going to do anything too crazy because of this ceiling that we have in place. As I'm going to be calling it here in this metaphor, whatever this is that I'm doing. But on a day like yesterday, we had the potential to see some big-time tornadoes, but that did not end up happening, and we got all the way down here to the floor where we had literally nothing. So, I hope that makes sense. That's the difference between a conditional risk and a non-conditional risk, and again, I'd say today is more non-conditional. That little rain shower in Nebraska never really ended up doing anything like a lot of the models were projecting. But again, we did get that massive event in the Ohio Valley yesterday, and then we also got this huge damaging wind event overnight into this morning. So, and again, this storm here, these are kind of some of the leftovers from that event, actually. This storm right here in the Grand Rapids area. So, yeah, we did not get a single tornado warning yesterday. We didn't even get any severe thunderstorm warnings out of that rain shower there in Nebraska. Because, again, it remained a rain shower. Alright, so we have tomorrow's new SPC outlook out. Give me just a second, and I'll bring that up on your screen, because I doubt it's updated on Radar Omega yet. Okay, so they're, again, continuing that marginal risk there for the southeast Texas coast for portions of for Tropical Storm Alberto, but they're actually moving it a little bit further north now, so areas like Houston tomorrow, you do actually have that marginal risk now for that 2% tornado threat. We do have some more minor severe weather events that could unfold tomorrow. We got a marginal risk up here for portions of the Midwest, and then we've also got a marginal risk down here for portions of the Southern Plains, but I don't think those are going to do anything too crazy. Again, I think the main focus for tomorrow will definitely be Tropical Storm Alberto. Of course, the one day where we finally see a calmer period of severe weather, we actually get that tropical storm to make landfall, which sucks. Will I be able to go live later today? Yes. Yep, this will not be our only stream today, I can guarantee you that. So again, we'll have to watch this storm here in Ohio. as it is producing damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour and hail up to penny size. And it's had periods of broad rotation with it, so we'll have to watch it there. I don't think it's going to produce a tornado. Whenever it gets to this isn't Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, it may try and produce a water spout or something, so we'll have to look out for that. This special marine warning here does not mention water spouts, though, so we'll see. So again, we're continuing to see more of those showers and thunderstorms impacting parts of southeast Texas here, mainly along the coast near Corpus Christi, up towards Houston, where we are seeing some heavier bands of rain here. Again, this is the very beginning of Tropical Storm Alberto's effects on the United States here, again, in the very beginning. So today will probably be the last slight risk day for severe weather, at least for the near term. Yeah, I think we're finally going to be done soon with this day after day slight risk thing that we've been having for the past 3 years, it feels like now. We have a mesoscale discussion for our system up there into the Ohio Valley. Strong wind gusts and occasional instances of hail should increase through the afternoon. However, a weather watch issuance is unlikely. Again, I mean, this is really just the definition of the eastern Ohio Valley here, that this is out for a 20% chance of a severe thunderstorm watch being issued for this area between now and 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. Alright, sounds good. Yeah, if you guys have any, if any of you guys live down here in Texas and you have any pictures or videos of, Tropical Storm Alberto, any cool stuff, feel free to tag me in those pictures if you do YouTube and you post them on your community tab. Again, my handle, I think it's just at Davis Does Weather. That's a nice thing about being a weather YouTuber. Not a lot of people do it, so you can have whatever username you want, and you'll be the only one if it's weather related. Probably a short you'll post. Okay. Yep, I should get a little notification for it in my YouTube studio if you tag me in something. So make sure to check that out. So, again, if you're just not tuning in, I know we have a lot of viewers just not tuning in. We are watching this ongoing severe weather event in Minnesota, an ongoing severe weather event in Ohio, and then also the beginning stages of Tropical Storm Alberto making impacts here on portions of southeast Texas, where we are already seeing some showers and thunderstorms enter the picture down here, heading westward. And that's how you can kind of tell that these are parts, this is from Tropical Storm Alberto's, because these are actually heading westward, which they would not be if it was not for this, because obviously, usually weather moves eastward, but in this instance, obviously because of Tropical Storm Alberto, it's moving westward. So, again, kind of cool to see. Again, these are the far outer bands here of Tropical Storm Alberto making impacts in the Corpus Christi area over the past several hours now. Well, we're not seeing, again, anything too insane, but showers and thunderstorms definitely across a wide swath here. There's been at least general thunderstorm risks every day in 24. Might be wrong, but I'm going to do some digging. That may be true. I think if there was a day that there wasn't, it would have been in the early winter, though. There may have been some no-risk days then, but I don't remember. I know last year we had a huge period of time in, like, the fall and the winter where I was just so bored because there was nothing to forecast other than winter storm after winter storm. There was no interesting severe weather at all. Yeah, you got kind of unlucky there. The first tropical storm of the season went up towards Texas. Again, the actual landfall is expected to be in Mexico, but again, you're going to feel some of the impacts if you're, far along the southeast Texas coast. Again, though, honestly, in Houston, I don't think you're going to have any real problems other than maybe some heavy rainfall, and then maybe an isolated tornado. I'm kind of surprised the Storm Prediction Center extended the marginal risk up there, though I really am not expecting a tornado. I really would not expect a tornado anywhere out of this, let alone all the way up towards Houston. I think that's a little ridiculous, but obviously it's their call, so we'll see. No, hurricanes don't really carry hail, so yeah, you will not see any hail out of this. Especially not all the way up into Houston. This time he had a tornado warning was the derecho on May 16th. Yeah, I know there's still cleanup. There's still cleanup going on down there, but everybody's forgotten about that event just because of how active the weather is. But I feel like if that event happened and there was nothing else going on, nobody would be able to stop talking about it, even until now. What's the most intense moment you've ever had on a live stream? That is a good question. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning, by the way. I'll answer that in a second, but we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning for Cambria County, Pennsylvania. So this little storm out here that was special weather statement warning does now have a severe warning for the Carrolltown area, so prepare for some 60-mile-per-hour winds. We have another severe thunderstorm warning there. It's an extension for our storm in Ohio as it heads northeastward. Now, Cleveland is included in this one, so downtown Cleveland, again, we prefer you get indoors. We got some 60-mile-per-hour damaging wind gusts and quarter-sized hail coming your way. The most intense moment I've ever had on a stream, I don't know, there's been a lot of good ones recently. Barnsdall, Oklahoma comes to mind just because it ripped right through a major town. Elkhorn, Nebraska comes to mind just because it was a huge wedge. Greenfield, Iowa comes to mind. Obviously, it was the strongest tornado this year. So many moments recently have been intense. How come hurricanes bring tornadoes? Well, again, we kind of went through this earlier, but what usually happens is some of the outer bands end up being discrete enough where they can kind of act as supercells, and sometimes they do end up curling up and produce tornadoes. So that's kind of why sometimes hurricanes end up producing some tornadoes. We do have a report of wind damage out of our storm in northeast Pennsylvania as of 43 minutes ago. There's a tree down and blocking the road on East Lake Road, east-southeast of New Milford by 1 mile here. So, maybe some hard to travel through roads out here. But again, that was 43 minutes ago, so that problem may have been fixed by now. It may not have been. Depends on how big the tree was that got downed. But there may be some other spots where we have that damage too. Don't tornadoes need wind shear, but hurricanes cannot feed it wind shear? Well, that's the thing. Tornadoes, how do I explain this? How do I explain this without sounding dumb? I was going to say tornadoes don't necessarily need wind shear, but that is just factually incorrect, so I can't say that. That's actually a really good question. That's a stumper for me. You should make a part 2 of how this year's been the craziest in a decade. I think a lot of people like that video. I posted that while I was away from home. I was in Cincinnati, so I schedule uploaded that video because I knew I was going, and a lot of people actually seem to like that. So I may do that again at the end of the year. But I mean, there hasn't really been any crazy tornadoes since I posted that video to talk about. But I could just talk about some of the big time EF3s. The day you leave for Vegas, the high temp will be 111. That's gonna suck. I mean, it's just so hot right now all across the country, as I'm sure a lot of you guys don't need me to explain, but seriously, like, it's brutal. Yeah, it is going to be drier, so it's not going to be quite as humid, but I mean, it's a desert, so there's that. It's very controversial. How come the Elkhorn tornado is rated EF3 based on radar? Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter what the radar shows. That doesn't determine the tornado rating, but one of the reasons that the imagery on radar could have been more intense is because we were super close to the radar site, right? So it was easier to pick up on a strong signature there. It's going to be in the 90s all week in western Ohio. That's going to suck. Yeah, it's going to be similar to that where I am. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning in northeastern Ohio for the Madison area. Areas along Interstate 90 near Paynesville for quarter-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. So if you're in that area, make sure that you are going to indoors. Tropical storm Alberto going to be dangerous. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, again, we're going to see some life-threatening flash flooding off here in the southeast Texas coast. We're going to see some higher winds, but mainly down into Mexico, though, is where those impacts are going to be limited down to. We may have a tornado threat develop. And again, some storm surge is also expected. So yeah, I'd say it would be dangerous. But again, it's all dependent on where you're at. It is the first one of the season, so again, it's not going to be anything crazy. But there's a heat wave. You heard on the East Coast? Yes. If we actually just turn on the excessive heat alerts. Let's see here. Look at this. All those orange boxes, those are heat advisories. The entirety of Pennsylvania, the entirety of New York, the entirety of Vermont, the entirety of Ohio. So many areas right now have heat advisories. Those hot pink boxes are where you step it up and you've got your excessive heat warnings. We got some of those in southwestern Pennsylvania, in northwest Ohio, in northeast Indiana, in southeast Michigan. Yes, we have excessive heat warnings in Michigan, and it's only June. But yeah, major heat wave. And then at the same time that that's happening, we have a winter storm up into Montana and Idaho here, where we are seeing some significant snow totals, which for late June is extremely rare. But it's below average temperature-wise here, above average temperature-wise out here, so stuff like that just happens. While we're here, we can go ahead and take a look at the European and see kind of the rainfall totals for Tropical Storm Alberto that we are expecting. Okay. It's very crazy for snow in June. Yeah, especially a full-blown winter storm. I know, right? Okay, so we'll drag things out. We kind of have another system to come in after Alberto, so it's kind of hard to measure exactly where this one's going to stop. But, we'll say... let's see here. Well... Okay, so this is solely for Tropical Storm Alberto again. This is not counting the next system. Now, the European has actually been pretty conservative with its rainfall totals here, so take this all with a grain of salt. We could see a little more, we could see a little less. But, Corpus Christi, alright, we're going to just take a look at the big cities here. Expecting about 3.5 inches of rain. It's warmer in Alaska than it is in Montana. That's crazy. We've got McAllen coming in at 4 inches of rain. We've got Houston coming in at about 1.5 inches of rain. We got Galveston coming in as one of our more heavy rainfall totals here of about 5 to 5.5 inches of rain. But really, the Euro is saying most of the super intense rain stays down to the south. Now, again, we have another tropical-like system coming in after this. No guarantee on if it's going to be a tropical storm or not. In fact, it's probably not going to be. But by the end of that one, at that point, we're going to have a total of 5 inches of rain in Corpus Christi. We're going to have about 2 inches of rain in Houston. We're going to have about 5.5 inches of rain in Galveston. We're going to have about 6 to 6.5 inches of rain in McAllen. So it's going to be intense. And again, the further inland you go, though, the European is really just cutting you off with your rainfall totals. It's saying, nope, you're not getting anything. I mean, in fact, by the time you get to San Antonio, even after both systems, it's only predicting 2 to 2.5 inches. Is that storm going to be anywhere near Houston the day I leave, which is the 23rd? If you're talking about Tropical Storm Alberto, no, it's going to be before that. But if you're talking about the next system, potentially, yes, I would say. I think it's going to be after you leave, though, for the most part. Alrighty. Alright. I think we're going to wrap things up here. I'll go ahead and take one more question. If anybody has any questions, get them in now. But we're going to wrap up soon. But again, happy to answer just one or two more questions here about Tropical Storm Alberto. But we don't really have any tornado warnings or considerable severe warnings to cover. So we're just going to kind of end things off here. Been live for over 45 minutes now. Do you have any concerns about Alberto? What will you be surprised about for the next SPC update today? What am I expecting? I don't think we're going to see any major changes at the next SPC update. I mean, I've kind of already went over my general concerns about Alberto, but yeah, again, I think for the most part, it's going to be a northeast Mexico problem, but some of the lingering effects may impact southeast Texas. So, once again, I'm going to thank you all for tuning in to this live stream. It's been decently fun. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to end off things here. Again, don't forget, I will be live later today, so if your question didn't get answered today, I'm sorry, but I'm sure I'll get you next stream. So, yeah, again, thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.